Are we working? Hello. Hey kids, yeah, a little bit of a different setup. We're trying to get a little bit fancier here, so I'm moved downstairs to basically my dining room. So if you can hear me, say hello, text hello or something, okay? Please, please, please. I've tried this new setup. This is the third time today. I've double checked this. I just want to make sure everybody's working, but okay. So welcome back to the beginning of week 2 of Ask Mike Anything. This is a coronavirus-centric, we got to stay at home and still learn about CompTIA topics kind of setup. We started this last week. A lot of pops and skips in the record. Thank you for those of you who showed up. We're getting a little more fancy here, and boy, I hope this all works. And do I look a little bit prettier with my prettier camera? Thank you, Scott Jernigan. We've got, thanks to Michael Smyer, actually have some basic switching ability, which I'm very excited about. I've been wanting for some time. So we get to do cool stuff like, I don't know, how about something like this? You guys ready? There, we can put up a whiteboard and we can actually talk about things, and if I need to, and we can always switch right back to my headshot as needed. So we're getting a little more sophisticated on here, and we'll keep getting better and better as time progresses. So number one, the big thing here is this is an opportunity to ask Mike anything. I would hope that we avoid the religious and politics issues too much. It's almost impossible to avoid talking about coronavirus one way or another, so I understand that. Also keep in mind, if there's any special requests or needs you might have, just let me know about it and you get them. So just because you guys were kind enough to show up, I've got a special for you, and all you have to do is go to my website, www.totalsem.com, and type in this code. So type that code in and you get 50% off all of our simulations and practice tests. Yeah, so it's different. Last week's deal may have been a little bit better, but that's what this week's deal is. And that's all from my sales and marketing department, that we want to make sure you guys have something. As always, if you are an instructor, we have ways for you as an instructor and to get free access to a lot of our stuff. If you're an instructor and you have an active class that's going on like right now, we at Total Seminars, we're going to give you, all you have to do is send an email to head of sales, Kathy Y at totalsem.com. And Kathy has a deal for you. So it's a very specific deal. It has to be real teachers. So don't try to be a pretend teacher and get past Kathy. She knows that stuff. She's on to you. And then, but this is for teachers with active classes. There's even in some cases we might even be able to get you free ebooks from McGraw-Hill. So, wow, I've never heard of that happening in the entire course of me ever dealing with that. So, okay, sure. So I got some hellos in here. Let me see what we got here. Hey, Elaine. Elaine's back. Yay, man, Elaine. I sure do appreciate you dropping back. Professor Krager's here. Look at him. Yeah, you like that background art? This is a Russian artist that I love very much. She's up and coming gay. Brandon Swenson showed up. The Pauls are here. Nancy Meadows. Hey, Nancy. Who else is here that I know? Iron Man, I remember that name. Scott Jernigan. Who the heck is that? And Dave Forshumps. Okay, here we go. We got a real question. Let's go ahead and just dive right in. All right, so Dave Forshumps. What do computer techs like you use optical media for? Not much. I use optical media mainly for installations. I still get so much stuff that comes in on optical media. Just installed a bunch of PTZ cameras, and the media came in on an optical disc. Yeah, can I go online and can I put it on a thumb drive? Sure, of course I can do that, but I just see enough of optical media in my life that I still keep it around. Maybe not on my portable stuff, although this I've got a pretty nice MSI laptop here, and it still has optical media, but I'm quickly moving to the point where as long as I've got a USB one that I can plug in on an as-needed basis, optical media is certainly on its way out. and thumb drives rule, and they're smaller, and I like them better. All right. Da-ba-da. All right, what else we got here? Oh, it's got you. Elaine, hey, Mike, I brought a friend along. Paul Pesky, am I pronouncing that right? Is not only a friend, but a CompTIA instructor extraordinaire from another school. Well, Paul, you got to tell us what school you're from, man. You got to write that in there so I can, then you got to tell me whose training materials you're using so I can make fun jokes about that. All right, Alessa Barb wants to talk about, can I explain RAID 6? Sure, I can explain RAID 6. Want to do it now? Let's do it. Okay, so the most important thing you have to remember about RAID is that RAID was invented a long time ago by a bunch of very groovy guys in Berkeley, California. RAID itself does not necessarily define technology so much as it defines a desired concept. For example, if you look at RAID 0, striping, what exactly striping means when you get down to it isn't really defined. How big the stripes are, how the stripes are pulled, those kind of things really aren't written down as laws of physics. And it's up to whoever makes that RAID 0 striper how it's going to work. There are certain conventions, of course, within the world of RAID, but they're certainly not laws of physics or man. And so RAID 6 kind of goes the same way. With RAID 6, what you're talking about is you're going to have an array. And this is the only critical thing you got to really remember about RAID 6. RAID 6 can handle up to 2 drives dying. I mean, that's really the big thing behind it. Even RAID 6 today is becoming, I don't know, I'm not going to say passe, but it's going away. When you look like Microsoft storage spaces, for example, and tool sets like that, which are proprietary RAIDs, which allow you to lose up to 2 drives, become how it really happens is a bit of a mystery. But the big thing you're going to worry about, certainly for exams, RAID 5 can lose a single drive before you're in trouble on array. RAID 6 can lose 2. Hello from Palestine. Wow. Palestine, Texas, huh? Yeah. There really, Alessa, there is a Palestine, Texas. So we often make a joke when we see Palestine. So maybe you are from there. Good morning, Tuluit. You are new here, Alessa, but welcome. Alan Duggan. Hey, Mike. Hey, Alan. Oh my goodness, here comes a bunch of questions. I totally forgot it was Monday. Oh, I never forget it's Monday, my brother. It's always Monday around here. Dr. Quinn, medicine woman. I'm getting a lot of popping and crackling. Timothy, I'm stuck with this setup for today's thing. I'm going to be very interested to hear what other people's input is. This is a sort of a painful setup we're doing so that I can be bringing in more tools other than just my attractive headshot. And I know you love it, but sometimes I want to have other things. But we're popping and crackling. We'll live with it today. I will do better tomorrow. Oh, yeah. We tested this multiple times, and it sounded pretty good. Can I learn computer science online? And when do you think of OSSU computer science on GitHub? Alessa, number one, there've got to be online computer science programs. I'm unaware of them, but some quick research ought to be able to get you in that direction. The problem is can you find online resources that have good, what's the word? When a school gets accepted, accreditations, and that I don't have the answer to. And what do you think of OSSU computer science on GitHub? Okay. Now Scott's telling me if I quiet down, I'll do better. Okay, I'll talk like this. How's that? So I'm unfamiliar with OSSU, so I'm not going to be able to give you an answer on that one. Sorry. Pesci. Elaine says, oh, Pesci. Oh, like the actor, like Joe Pesci. Like, do I amuse you? Do I make you smile? Like a clown? Okay, I got you. AKA Professor Pesh. There we go. Greater Lowell Tech. That's better than Upper Lowell Tech, right? I just get the biggest kick out of Massachusetts, where Elaine and Professor Pesh are. It's a cold place. Mike, do you have a preferred brand of RAM? No, actually I don't. I may go for Corsairs because of the branded RAMs. They tend to be cheaper in general, but I'm also probably got about, I don't know, there's probably 8 to 10 of these Taiwanese no name, but they're still good RAM. Same chips most of the time, and I'll go with those. I get nervous when I put too many light bulbs and fins on RAM because I just don't think they need it that much. So no, I don't have a preferred. I am studying, this is from JS. I am studying for my A+, and I'm confused at the purpose of a crossover cable in regards to networking. Good question. All right, so crossover cables, you want to talk about something that's starting to fade away. It's a crossover cable. What we're talking about, JS, is that in a typical chunk of network cabling, you're going to have 4 functional unshielded twisted pairs in there, right? So to make it simple, 2 pairs are for sending and 2 pairs are receiving. It's a little more complicated than that, but that'll get us going there. So traditionally, when you have a straight through cable, you are plugging like if you're plugging into a computer, 2 of those are going to be for the send and 2 of those are going to be for the receive. So now the send and receive on the other end of the cable, I want you to think about this for a minute. If it's sending into one end, then it's sending out the other. Does that make sense? So what we end up doing is the send side connects to the send side in the switch or whatever you might have. There are situations where you want to reverse that polarity. You want to reverse the connection, not necessarily polarity. And that's what crossover cables do. If you look at early generation, certainly hubs, but switches as well, if we wanted to interconnect 2 switches, what we did was we simply reversed the sends with the receives and created a larger broadcast domain. So today we still do that, by the way. Like if you plug 2 switches together, back in the old days, you either had to use a crossover cable or they had a special switch that you could say, make it across, you can plug in a regular cable and then hit the crossover, and then you could use that, or you can just plug in a crossover. Or today, most what you'll see with switches more than anything else is what we call auto sensing, and they'll know, oh, I'm being plugged into another switch. One of us, not both of us, will turn into a crossover connection and allows us to talk to each other. So a crossover just swaps the sends and the receives. That's the core part of it. So I hope that you got what you were looking about. Yeah, sorry about this cracking, guys. We really did test this quite a bit over the weekend. I apologize that we're getting cracky. Paul Murphy, I just read about internet-connected thermometers that are tracking people's temperatures throughout the corona outbreak. Yeah, well, so I got myself, anybody know what a sphygmomanometer is? It's a blood pressure machine. Anyway, so I got a blood pressure machine and checks my blood pressure. And then that thing uploads the information to somebody. And I'm sure there was an agreement somewhere where I said, sure, go ahead and send my non-personalized information. You know, people are tracking high blood pressure, tracking thermometers, you know. So yeah, I'm always never surprised anymore about all that kind of stuff. But a crossover cable was often used to connect a stack of switches. It sure was, Elaine. Okay, here we have some new names here. Oh, cool. Coram Uden. Man, you're incredibly funny. Thanks. I crack myself up. Nobody appreciates my humor as much as I do, Uden. That's what makes me a great teacher. I thought it was my incredible good looks, but I'll go with whatever you're saying. Okay, Radoslav Knut. There's a good Irish name. Hey, Mike, I'm working as a service technic and you're experienced. What? Oh, goodness. That LIDL Austria, that must be a place in Austria, still uses Server 2003. We were using it until fairly recently. We finally upgraded to 2016. Question next message. Okay. Docile Jeff. Mike, can you please explain pass? SAS.io. Yeah, okay. Let's do that real quick. That's an easy one. All right, so let's start with the most core one and probably the oldest is IaaS, which is called Infrastructure as a Service. A long time ago, if you and I wanted to set up a website, well, you and I would have to, first off, go buy a computer. That would be our web server. I'm doing the double quotation mark a lot today. So we'd set up this web server, and we'd put, I don't know, maybe Windows on it, maybe Linux, whatever we wanted. Then we'd have to install some kind of web server software in there, whatever you like to use. We'd have to set this up. We'd have to put in firewalls. We have to make sure we have backups. We'd have to upload new pages as we wanted new pages, that whole shebang, right? Well, that's a painful process, because what if it goes down? Restoring from backups, what are you going to be doing? What if the power goes out and you're part of the town? I mean, now you don't have a web page, right? So there's a lot of motivation to take that computer box and move it someplace else. So, for decades, what we would do is we would do what was known as rack space kind of things, where somebody had a big safe building, and this building had really good electricity, and if a hurricane came through, it wouldn't knock it out, and just all the necessary things to keep whatever's in there running and happy. And by putting that machine in there, acts of God would disappear and stuff like that. But it was still my machine, and just because I'm doing everything remotely, using SSH or remote desktop or whatever it might be, it's still my machine. I'm still responsible for it. That hard drive dies, well, that's my problem. When virtualization really started to kick in about 10 years ago, it really kind of started changing, a little more than 10 years ago now. And what was happening is, instead of having all these physical boxes in a safe building, it became, pretty cool for people to go, why don't we just make virtualized boxes in the, sure, they're on but it's on the owner's hardware. It's going to be whatever, but anybody can come in and make their own virtual machines. And what's even more cool is that you don't need somebody at the server farm to do it. There's some kind of interface where you can make it. And one of the things you really ought to take a look at is AWS, Amazon Web Services, which is my favorite cloud-based provider. Their infrastructure as a service, their IaaS interface is really cool, and you can do this for free. You got to give them a credit card, but you don't have to actually use the credit card. And in fact, it's not easy to use the credit card without a whole bunch of stuff that says, are you sure you want to spend this money? Anyway, you can set up a basic virtual machine, and it'll have an IP address and a cruddy, fully qualified domain name, some temporary thing, but they set up, and you'll just sit there and go, oh, okay, how many CPUs do you want? How much hard drive space do you need? How much virtual RAM do you want in this? What operating system you want me to install? You want to install Linux? Linux is free. We can do Windows. We can do 18 different kinds of Linux, depending on what you need. And the bottom line is, by clickety-clicky on buttons, when you're done, you instantly and automatically have a server that is connected to the internet, and you can do anything you want with it. I find this very, very cool. Anyway, that's infrastructure as a service. So that's been around for quite a while, and it's a very, very cool thing. Now, most websites today, I mean, if anybody's old and remembers doing old school HTML stuff, you know that today pretty much any website is really just it's an application. Even if it's not very fancy, it still manifests as an application. And applications have to be developed by programmers, and programmers look at technology in a very strange and insular way. So a programmer is going to be looking that they have to develop this web page, this web app, and they don't care about how many hard drives or what operating system or whatever it is. So what they do is they go to platform as a service. So a platform as a service is very much a programmer's world. And what they'll do is like Heroku, which is a popular PaaS service, PaaS. I also like to say ATM machine. So what you do is you upload your code into this Heroku and click a few buttons, and Heroku automatically, it doesn't even ask you like how many machines you want or what kind of CPU, or it's got this one dial that you can go from like 1 to 11 that says how powerful do I need it. And as a programmer, that's a very relative question. But it automatically puts up, it doesn't even ask you, I don't even think it asks you like what kind of operating system you want or what kind of web server you want. It's all automated. But the bottom line is you automatically get your code running. Boom. So you go run my code, and anybody can go to a temporary and complex URL and can momentarily see that kind of stuff. Then eventually where you want it, then you can go ahead and plug that in through DNS into a more proper, fully qualified domain name. So with IaaS, you're actually setting up the individual systems. With PaaS, you're really just sending out a code and it runs on some platform, ergo platform as a service. And then the last one is, what do we get? IaaS, PaaS, software as a service? I lost the screen. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So software as a service is, to me, almost every web page on earth is software as a service. Google is a service, and it has software that allows you to search. You type in, and you can do a search, so it returns a search. But I think when we talk about software as a service, I think we're talking more like Office 365 and tools like that, where you get a copy of Outlook or a copy of Microsoft Word, which manifests as a word processor, but only as long as you need it. So there you go. We got that. Hi, Mike. I'm working. There he is. Yep. Crossover cable was often used to connect us. Okay, back to Alessa from Palestine. Computer science versus IT. What is your opinion? Why do these questions sound very, very familiar to me? Anyway, computer science is a programming degree. If you're getting a computer science degree, you're going to be a coder in one way or another. Virtually everything else within the world of IT tends to be system administration, tends to be up to as advanced stuff as, building routers or chips or whatever, although that starts to move in the world of double E. Degana Inobini. What is the best choice for connecting DSL modem to the internet provider network? The best choice? Anymore? I don't know where you're at. So like here in the States, DSL, at least traditional DSL, has faded dramatically. So, you're either going with a fiber type connection these days. A lot of people are going to Wi-Fi, even letting their phone connection be their primary internet connection, which still blows my mind, but that is happening. But the best way for connecting it, Dagana, you're going to have to ask that question better, because I don't know what you're asking about what to connect. Okay, question. Do you think I should focus still on 2012? Is it enough, or should I switch focus to WinServer 216? Oh, you know what, Radislav, in all honesty, 212, 216, or 2019, there's some prettiness in interfaces that change and things like that, and certainly feature sets come along, but in general, the core tool sets, the DHCP and the DNS clients on Windows Server haven't changed in a decade, in my opinion. When you can, always go later whenever possible. Sorry, guys. Just trying to get back. Here we go. No worries. Homer 1075. Is LPI respected in the wild? Yeah, you hear about it a lot. Certainly for the Linux guys. That is a respected cert. Dagana Nobe, what is cloud computing? Wow, we just talked about that. Anybody who creates farms where you can create your own virtual machines and do whatever you want to them is under the realm of cloud computing. So that's such a broad topic. So are my courses available in Pluralsight? I think so. I don't know. We'll have Scott Jernigan double check that. He may have already answered. I'm interested in that Dr. Quinn never heard CompTIA Healthcare IT. I've heard of Healthcare IT. I don't know anything about it. Yes, Paul. I can try one more time. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I'm terrified to do much to this, guys. This particular setup feels very, very risky to me. So I promise we won't pop them all. Yes, Thomas Herm, we are aware of the, it's going to allow scheduling of online testing starting in about, what's today's date? It's 4, so in about 9 days, which will be pretty cool. Nobody knows anything about this, how this interface is going to work. Somebody had mentioned that it was in there, what type of technology it was. Guarantee you're going to need a camera. So I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work beautifully. Oh, what time on the, you want to know what time of day? I would guess in the morning, like 9 a.m. Central Time, but I can't even guarantee that. Okay, Homer 1075. Mike, if a VM has malware, is it safe to assume that the host? No, most of the time I wouldn't worry about the host OS at all, especially if it's easily recognized malware. No. For malware to get down to the host OS through the hypervisor is a terrifying and scary proposition. It certainly does happen, but I think it's incredibly rare. All of the Type 1 and Type 2 hypervisor manufacturers out there, that's their ultimate nightmare, and that's all they live for, is making sure that doesn't happen. There are certainly examples of where that's taken place, but it's incredibly rare. I just delete the VM and load up an old copy. All right, man, you guys are all talking to yourselves. Why doesn't anybody want to talk to me anymore? Okay, I'm just trying to, I hit that scroll bar and then, okay. Who did I miss? Anthony Sassini? Anthony, am I pronouncing your name right? Sorry if I'm tearing it up. Okay. Will you ever do a course one level up from network or security plus for your network? And it was great. Thank you. I don't know, Kevin. I keep thinking about doing it. And honestly, to stay on top of CompTIA A plus, Net plus, and Security plus with a little bit of side stuff for funsies that's a full-time job right there. And so I'm nervous about digging deeper into that. I'm doing a lot of non-certification stuff, but that's, just little bits of this on here and there. So the answer is probably no, Kevin. Spencer Ray, love your stuff, Mike. Took you for 7 minutes. Yeah, thank you. Steve G. There's a name, G. Hey, Mikey, there you go. Gotta be careful with that one. Your courses on Udemy are fantastic. Yeah, thank you very much. Gino, back again for more abuse, I see. How's it going, man? Mike, you mentioned you worked with CPM at your first job. I did. It was a long time ago. My first IT job supporting a point of sale system, right? There we go. Use CPM. We are. Gino, you are old if you even know what CPM is. And for those of you who don't know what CPM is, good. It is the operating systems of your forefathers. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my goodness. ¿Dónde está bien, amigo? Hey, man. There you are. Dude, you just keep getting prettier. I tell you, man. So, LG Sus Gaming is my buddy Jesus, who worked for me for a little bit and is now kicking butt and out in the big world. It's good to see you, man. Am I CISSP certified? I know who this is. Come on, I'm getting the same questions. This is what's his name from last week. No, I am not CISSP certified. Never will be. Homer 1075. Mike, NFL Major League Baseball teams. Yes, what about them? Go sports teams. Now, I mean, I like sports, but kind of what happened to me is back when I was married, my wife was like a football fanatic, like crazy. Like I was the one who had to wear something skimpy, and I stood in front of the TV going, "Talk to me," because she loved her sports. And I don't know, season tickets to Houston Texans, Houston Rockets. We were there for Elijah Wan and the great days. Yeah, I just I don't have any. Every now and then I'll go to a baseball game. I enjoy sitting at a baseball game. But yeah, that's about it anymore. Yeah. How nerdy can I be? I'm not into sports anymore. Okay, Dagana and Nobini. How can I restrict all RDP on the internal network? Are you talking about incoming RDP from the internet, or you're gonna have to give me a little more detail there? The answer is probably going to be, you can block that with port numbers on the router itself. Are there any IT help desk jobs that are part-time? I got to tell you, Brian, I got my nose out on what's going on because a lot of people are worried that Corona could last for 6 to 8 months. I'm not going to make any predictions, but some people are. And it's my understanding that there's a lot of online jobs that are popping up now. I have not personally done much inspection on this, maybe like on Indeed.com or one of those. But I would be curious if somebody looked and gave me some answers on that to see if we're getting all kinds of stuff. Let's see what happens. Jalo Sosa. I'm sorry I am late. I had to cook dinner. Yeah. Uber Eats, man, for the win. On your CompTIA Plus 1001, show USB A and B. Yeah, that's an old zip drive. You'd be surprised how Mr. Sosa, how many people caught that. So there he is, Anthony. Hey, so Anthony, I'm assuming you're still on. So what you need to, I'm going to write this down. So we got a little delay here. Anthony, that's for you. Total Seminars is helping out teachers that have active classes right now. So if you're an instructor with an active class that's teaching A+, Net+, Security+, a few other topics, we're giving away practice questions. We're giving away all kinds of stuff for you guys. So even if you're a teacher, if you don't have an active class, you're going to have to send Kathy Yale an email. And so I just sent that address. Also, for anybody who's just coming in, this is for everyone. I cannot remember all these codes. All right, so did I get it right? So all you have to do, that's directly below the screen that you're looking at, we're giving 50% off of everything we got. Those down there. That looks really dirty from my position. Anyway, there is a link and a code, and you can get 50% off of all of my stuff. And that's for anybody. You don't have to be a teacher with active classes. Yes, Mike, Dual Linux Plus. Thank you, Kevin. Why are there two standards for wiring Ethernet cables, A and B? Okay, well, that actually goes back from a really, really long time ago. And that is, you got to remember that the weird wiring setup for 4-pair unshielded twisted pair, which was originally only 2-pair unshielded twisted pair, this dates from the 70s. And if you ever look, you remember those little phone line jacks called RJ11s? So if you only had one line, you had 2 wires. But then if you had 2 lines, you had another second set of wires on the outside. So this was line 1, and this was line 2. So in order to get Ethernet to work with that, you have 2 extra pairs on the outside. I need more fingers. And so the different schemes came from, one was more like for the industry, and the other one was more like an AT&T. And I don't remember exactly why there was a conflict. It had to do with telephone wiring standards. It goes back so long ago that it's almost doesn't matter anymore. How about a course on CYSA Plus? We have one on CYSA Plus. Just head over to www.total7.com, and we have courses on that, including practice questions and such. There's no simulations on CYSA. My buddy Brent Chapman does all that for you, and not only is he very, very smart, he's also a good-looking guy. Tall drink of water. Does a great course. And please check it out. Brent does an amazing job. And CYSA Plus is a bear. This is one of the few exams that I don't study for hardly any of my certification exams, but I went in for that one, and it smoked me. It was very hard. Do you have hands-on materials I can download for CompTIA A+ practice test? We're not actually talking about hands-on stuff because I cannot figure out how to shove a hard drive through the wires. But if you're just talking about like simulations and stuff, again, we got that 50% off deal, Live 406. Go to my website, www.totalsim.com. And yes, you too can have access to these wonderful, wonderful tools at half price for the duration. Okay, Will Winston, I want to get into IT. What is the best route? Man, Will, I wish I knew who all of you are because that would probably be the first question. If you're a young person, you go through high schools and look for your IT programs. If you're an adult, then you'd probably be looking at, there's lots of retraining things here in the United States. We usually go to like community colleges, as we call it, which provide 2-year degrees. There are some private schools, which often tend to be a little on the expensive side, but you can go that route too. Also, a lot of people just jump into it. Most people think, like for most of these salespeople's jobs here in the U.S., you really don't need anything. Just show up. I think a high school degree is about the only thing that's required. EU football. I like football. I do sometimes. What routing protocol is commonly used today, if any? These days, probably if I was going to make you learn one routing protocol above any others, I'd go straight to BGP. That was not true 10 years ago, especially for internal networks. OSPF was the way to go. And you would be surprised how many people still use RIP. When you have a relatively small network and the probability of change isn't that great, RIP is not the worst idea ever. It's old and very simple and doesn't do a lot of the extra features that you would see with the more advanced ones. But I'd probably go with BGP. How old are you, man? I'm 29. 29 years old. Yes, I am. Hockey and baseball is where it's at. I got to tell you, it's so funny because Houston is such a warm place. Things like hockey, you wouldn't think that people think much about, but we actually had a hockey team here. In fact, for you folks up north, Bobby Orr used to play for us back in the 70s after he had retired. And it was the Houston Aeros, and it was like a AAA team, and they were great, well received. One of their first games, they were playing against the Russian national team back in the 90s. And because Texans didn't know anything about hockey, they handed out like a big old map. That you fold up like a map, and it was like high sticking and offsides and all the law, all the rules. Do you guys remember like back in the Olympics where the Chinese would take a big block of seats and then they'd hold up a sign and it would like be a shape of Mao Zedong or whatever it was? So it was the same for us. We're all sitting here. All of a sudden, the referee or whatever you call him blows a whistle, and 5,000 of us go hold these things up. Oh, that's high sticking. That's high sticking. Okay, that was checking. It was hilarious. I do. I miss hockey. It's a fun game to watch. Baseball isn't boring. Baseball is just different. Homer, you passed the CYSA. Nobody is, okay, hang on. Elaine, free instructor material. Again, you're always going to have to talk to Kathy Yale on that stuff. Homer, you passed. That's the important thing. Nobody cares what your score is on certification exams. I've never, ever heard anybody ask that question. Steve G's helping me out there. Scott Jernigan loves soccer. And the fact that I call it soccer makes him ick a little bit like that, which is hilarious. So he loves his soccer, that's for sure. Will there also be Steve G? Will wins? It sounds like you got a conversation. I'll let you guys figure it out. Timo Gies, I'm going to guess. Hi, Mike. I follow your Network Plus courses. Welcome aboard. What is the difference between a modem and a router? Okay, that's an interesting question. P.S. I love your course. Thank you so much. Well, let's talk about what's the difference between a modem and a router. First of all, the term modem is an old concept, all right? It stands originally for modulator demodulator. And in the most classic sense, a true modem would take an analog signal, usually from a telephone company, and convert it into a digital signal that computers could use. So for a lot of people back in the old days, when you were connecting your old school telephone line up to communicate, you would use a modem. And the modem would turn the analog signal into a digital signal into an analog signal. Now, it could do this for any kind of signal. Didn't matter, but that was the big difference. In today's setups, that's much more uncommon. A cable connection now with DOCSIS is fully digital. Even a phone line connection, if you're still using DSL or one of its DSL's big brothers, most of the fiber to the home stuff is actually just super DSL. In those cases, we still tend to call those boxes modems, but they're really not. They're almost more like a bridge device than a modem, because there's no conversion of analog to digital in them anymore. Now, router is a totally different animal. A router is designed to take different network IDs and interconnect them so that they can communicate with each other. So like if I have one little network of a bunch of computers in it, and its network ID is 192.168.4 dot whatever, and then I have another bunch of computers, and they're all 192.168.10 dot whatever. In order for those two local area networks to communicate with each other, I must use a router. So a router filters and forwards packets based on their IP addresses by referencing a routing table, which is built into the router itself. Now, the problem is, especially for new people, so you look at your house and they hand you a box, right? So you get cable modem or whatever you're using. So you get this box, and this box, they call it the router. Well, that thing's not just a router. It's probably a router. It's probably a wireless access point. It has certainly got some kind of bridge function in it if it's converting something like DOCSIS to IP and things like that. DOCSIS to Ethernet, sorry. And so it's unfortunate we have that term that happens so much in today's world, where these home boxes, and they are routers, and they are, I guess terminal adapter might be a better word to use, but the word modem is so old fashioned now that it's almost taken on a meaning that has nothing to do with what it's defined for. Yeah. Very interesting question. Thank you for the good words on the PenTest course. Appreciate that. All right, Alyssa wants to explain ICMP protocol. Okie dokie, we can do that. So we've all heard the term TCP/IP protocol, right? So, God, Scott, you're going to have to, I don't know what acronyms stand for. Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. So we always do TCP/IP, right? Well, that's because TCP is only one of many protocols that run on top of the IP addressing scheme. So we have TCP, which is very popular. We also have UDP, which is also very popular. And extremely important, but not talked about very much, is ICMP. So ICMP stands for Internet Control Message Protocol. Yeah, somebody look it up for me, will you? ICMP is one of the most important parts of what runs on top of the internet, but it does boring things. Like, for example, good old ping is ICMP. What else is ICMP off the top of my head? ARP. Is ARP ICMP? Pretty sure it is. So these are like little utility protocols. You're not running them. Your operating system runs them to make sure things are running good. So ICMP is, and it's always going to be a single packet. ICMP is never multiple packets. But it's actually pretty cool. What you ought to consider doing is get a copy of the very free program called Wireshark and just run that for a while. and go ahead and after you run a big long capture, just search for all the ARPs that are in there. And you can actually look at them, and Wireshark helps you break them down to see how they work. ICMP is very, very important and really not talked about much. Mike, I love your courses from Joe Sosa. I worked as a tour guide, cool, but always been a geek, assemblyman. Yeah, everybody starts off. What positions can I apply with the CompTIA A+ certification? All right, well, this brings up a good point. This comes up every day, and I'm liking this, and that is don't get into this industry and think to yourself, oh, I will go to school and I will get a few certifications and then I can get a job. It doesn't work that way. The only thing I can do as an educator is get you a certification. And these certifications just basically put your CV towards the top of the stack. You still have to have some degree of experience. You still have to have some degree of knowledge. Now, I want to also be very careful here. There are lots of amazing schools out there that do far more than just the certification. Great schools will help with job placement. Great schools will help with soft skills. You know, they do so much more than just getting you a certification that I want to be very clear to say that a good school's diploma is often far more important than the very handy certifications that come with that school. That's up to the school itself and what it plans to do. And everybody's different there. So, okay. So, I'm just reading through. Joe, you're 34. Yeah, you're a little kid. Oh, goodness. Why does this happen? I'm sitting here, I'm trying to scroll so suddenly, and then all of a sudden, burp. Okay, hang on. Sorry. Let me get this right. Philip D. Charmoy, how many certs do you have and what kinds? Philip, I don't know. Pretty much just do A+, Net Plus, and Security Plus these days. I've taken Microsoft certs. I've taken Cisco certs. I've taken Novell certs. I've taken lots of other certs, certified wireless networking professional. Most of these I let fade. I do not have the ability nor the desire to iterate all of my certifications, what time I've taken them, and things like that. Just not interested. Jamal Lad, hey, Mike, please let everybody know. Ask a question about CompTIA related, please. Questions? You mean the online stuff? I think we have covered that, Vimal, that coming up on the 15th, you'll be able to sign up for CompTIA exams. Very exciting. Online. They're going to be proctored. So somebody else on the other side actually watching you. So if you start doing stuff like this, they're going to get nervous. So I'm sure the rule sets will be very clear about what they do. Look at there, Steve G helping me out. Thank you. Tightening up ICMP. Dr. Quinn, you want NASA shirts? Really? I mean, I think that would be really easy to do. The problem is you know, I'm not going to be able to get a bunch of sizes or anything like that. But yeah, this is my Apollo 11th anniversary shirt, which is very cool. I'll tell you what, if that's seriously something you want, keep hollering at me and reminding me, and I'll eventually break down. And Diego Medina's got some more information I totally missed. Mike, is the offer you have to access your material the same material in MedCerts? I think so, but we have better simulations than what MedCerts buys from us. I'm taking classes through Goodwill. Oh, really? So, Diego, I'm curious where you're at, man. Or you're not in Indianapolis by any crazy chance, are you? And they have a grant from Google to oh, yeah. I see. Yeah. Diego, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you in that department. You're just, yeah. Sorry. So Toshi Natsu, I'm trying to pass the CompTIA Plus while I'm working for Microsoft as a tech. That's it. Okay. What's the best advice for preparing for the exam? Well, depending on what kind of technicianing you are for Microsoft, you know, watch my videos through whatever platform you choose. You can hub.totalsem.com, lynda.com, udemy.com, you know, whatever mechanism you want. Watch the videos and then get practice questions. If you're already a tech, and I don't have to explain to you what a partition is and things like that, that really speeds things up dramatically. And in that case, looking at practice questions, and then you look at practice questions that you can't get right, or I'm like, what the world is he talking about here? And then going back to videos or even maybe books and referencing them slowly and one at a time. That's about it. Shouldn't take you more than 120 hours to study. If you're a tech, it ought to take, heck, it could probably take half that. So Dr. Quinn, stay on top of me. We'll see if I can make some t-shirts appear for you. So M.2 drive numbering is a mystery to me. Is the length just based on the number of chips? M.2 drive numbering? You mean like the internal number systems, like on a Samsung drive? You're talking about that kind of a thing? Or are you talking about the actual connectors? Because the M.2 connectors had me confused there for a while, but I think I'm better on that. It's certainly not the number of chips, Tulawit. Most of the time when you hear about any type of, and it doesn't have to be M.2s, it could be any SATA drives or whatever, you know, whatever that numbering system is usually manufacturer specific and not, I feel like I'm not answering your question right. Okay, Professor Krager, how's it going? First mode of my user. Oh, don't get me started with this. Do not get me started. Do not get me started. I'll win every time. Yes, I had an acoustic coupler, all that stuff too. God, kicking myself for throwing half that stuff away. Oh, Brandon Swenson. Oh, and Brandon, thank you for having your parents get a hold of me. It was very nice. Hadn't talked to them in almost 20 years. Yeah, so Brandon Swenson guy was a little kid when I went to church with him and his folks a billion years ago. Now he's installing satellite stuff. Very cool. Do you have your first book enshrined anywhere? Would it be a good PR? Hang on, I'll be right back. Sorry for the dead air. This is one of them. Yeah, I did all this on mimeograph machine, not mimeograph. So this is 2001, and this is a 3rd edition. I don't think we can find any earlier than those. You want to see my first Network Plus book? And copyright 1996. All these hand-drawn in PowerPoint. Hard to show you these things. Memories may be beautiful. Yeah, fun stuff. I've got a bunch of shelves. I just keep all my old stuff in there. It's a pretty big stack. Oh, you're from Portugal, Sosa. And I have doses. Good, good, good. They advertise it as fiber. Is it really fiber? I'm not familiar with doses ever being fiber. Every time I've seen a non-Ethernet fiber connection, it's almost always high-speed DSL. I'm sure there's exceptions to that, but most of the exceptions that I would be thinking of would be really old stuff. I mean, like FIDI and things like that, which ATM, I don't think any of that stuff really exists anymore. So if somebody's telling you DOSIS is cable, is fiber, I'm going to have to take a look at that. Whew. Yeah, this is the other thing I'm going to have to fix this week is how to get caught up with my scrolling. Alyssa Barbie, explain M.2 versus NVMe. Well, M.2 is a form factor for physical connectivity of flash-based drives. NVMe is a way to talk to the for the CPU to talk to the hard drive without really having a classic controller in the old-fashioned way, like a PCIe style controller. Well, you guys are still chugging away on ICMP, man, and which I'm fine. Guys, a lot of times if I don't develop the question well enough, I know we've got great instructors in here. We've got lots of people who are really, really helpful. And so I love it, the fact you guys are talking together online. Never got a problem. Oh, yeah. So one more time, just so you guys know, we are, if you're nice enough to show up here today, we're giving away everything for half price at www.totalstem.com. If you just look here underneath, you'll see where to link, and you see the MM Live 406. That's going to be good through April 12th. And now, okay, whatever. So just practice, test, and sims. Okay, sorry, guys. No videos, just practice, tests, and sims, which are an incredible deal, which really probably the most important thing you can get directly from the hub would be those. And yeah, so that's still just use MM Live 406 and you are there. Also, is open source dangerous? No, in fact, in most cases, open source is far safer than proprietary. By having stuff open source, everybody can see the code. And some of the most important things we lean on, for example, the powerful AES encryption that we use for just about everything we use for encryption-wise is completely open source. And you can go through and look at the AES encryption methodology. In fact, it's on Wikipedia if you want to look at it. And because it's open, hundreds of people are constantly trying to check it, looking for problems. And if they find them, they tell people about it. And that's what keeps it safe. So open source is good when it's truly open source. What about My Computer Career? Is this a good school? Will Winston. I got to be careful here. I love schools, but you have a school, like I'm going to boast on Elaine Batzer with Essex Tech. That school gives so much more than just certifications. And the amount of work that the teachers put into it, if you're just going for certifications, you have no interest in making connections with people, practicing soft skills, having interconnections with employers and all that stuff, then you really could just be self-study most of the time. So I am somewhat familiar with My Computer Career, but whatever. Oh, we have Jeanette Hill from Dayton, Texas. It's good to have their Texas girl. Watch out. So welcome aboard. So I'm not directly familiar with Mike. I've seen it. If you're just going for certs, most of the time you can do it on your own. Daniel Grigsby, we're running out of time again? What the heck? I'm going to go on a few extra minutes today. So we may lose Scott. All right, this is my last question. Last question. Here we go. Daniel Grigsby, hi, Mike. Just finishing up your A+ course at Udemy. About to make a career change. I was wondering if you had any tips in the realm of memorizing port numbers. No. Do them a lot. I don't have any clues. I just learn them all. Yeah, I'm terrible on this. What do they call that? Like, which scales every good boy does fine, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so anyway, I'm sorry we got to cut this off. Listen, guys, we're here every day. If I don't cover a question, don't worry about it. Just come on back. Obviously, we've got some amazing people in here that are coming back, and that's not what I was expecting. And really, thank you very much, guys, for coming back and helping out like this. It's very. I don't have every answer. I may have had the answer once in my life, but like I tell the IRS every year, I forgot. So thank you so much for helping out like that. Do keep in mind, if you are an instructor and you are teaching a class right now, okay, even if those kids are all over the country, it's all doing remote, we are here to help, and CompTIA is prepared for teachers with active classes. Just talk to Kathy Y at totalsem.com. Just send her an email, and don't try to be clever, Brandon. And sorry, Brandon Swenson, I know the kid. And you can't pretend to be a teacher. Kathy's good, but we are here to help, and we will give you stuff that even can be, in some restrictive situations, even free ebooks. So you got to talk to Kathy about this. And again, that is only for active teachers. Guys, I'm sorry. So many great questions. I've just run out of time. I apologize. I am going to try to work on this microphone so I won't be so crackly tomorrow, but I will be back tomorrow, and we're doing this every day at 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time. I am here for you. Always, what's some great questions? Hey, Brandon, you're always going to get a call out from me, brother. And thank you very much. I need a drink of water. I'll see you tomorrow.